Hello YouTube, today we're going to talk about injury prevention, and the focus for this video is going to be your bicep. When I talk about the bicep, I speak about that portion here and the tendons. We're not going to be talking about the brachialis, we're not going to be talking about the portion of the forearm that connects within the bicep. That's for another video. So, bicep tears, how often do they occur? Are they actually anything that should be taken seriously? And when do they occur? Well, first off, let me start by saying that bicep tears are quite serious. And depending on where the tear occurs, it is sometimes something that can be reattached surgically, but in certain cases, it cannot. So I'm not going to use the scientific terms. If you're interested, you can research them, but I'm going to broadly present it. So your bicep attaches to your forearm here, and it also attaches to the humerus here, right? This here, if it detaches, can be reattached to the bone. This here is much more sketchy, meaning that there are cases of injuries in that portion of the bicep that cannot be reattached. And of course, this is a death sentence for bodybuilding, because it means that when you go here and you flex, that peak that you see here is going to be flat, or it's going to look like it's being pulled inside because it's not attached here. So what do you want to avoid doing to prevent bicep injuries? First off, first culprit right off the bat, any type of pulls from the floor, from blocks with a supinated grip, forget about it. This is not a strong position for your bicep to be in. Whether it's straight with a mixed grip and a deadlift, or bent, which is even worse, with a row, do not do it. I know you can engage more lats with a supinated grip on the rows. It is not worth it, because the issue is, even if you're smart about it and you stay within a range of motion that keeps the bicep safe, the one day you're not going to pay attention, you're going to overextend, it's going to snap. And once it's snapped, it's over. It won't reattach by itself, it has to be reattached by a surgeon. So ditch these completely. Do you have to ditch, because I've heard people say that, every single supinated move? Of course not. The ones you want to avoid are the ones where you move a ton of weight and where the biceps are the second mover. That's what you don't want. The bicep is not a muscle that should be used for stabilization. It's not a muscle that should be used as a contraption to lift more weights with the prime mover, which means that every single lift that has a back development component to it, and where the bicep is activated through the movement, is not a safe option. The only, of course, exception of that being chin-ups. The reason why you can do chin-ups rather safely is because of the angle that you take the biceps through. And also because, in a sense, if you're doing bodyweight chin-ups, there's almost no risk. If you do them weighted, when you go and you squeeze at the top, there's no risk. And when you extend, what extends fully is truly your back. And it's much easier in that position to preserve the bicep and to make sure that most of the tension is on the back. For some reason, I don't find personally that to be true for supinated rows. But there are certain supinated rows you can give a try. For example, Meadows rows, some people like to do them supinated, right? But in general, movements that are going to be vertical pulls are much safer with a supinated grip, meaning that even the weird pull-up stuff that people do with the machine that I forgot the name, that's fine with a supinated grip. That's not a risk. People need to pay attention when it comes to horizontal rows, especially the ones you do standing. That's where you really don't want your biceps to be in that position. As I said before, you also don't want to be doing mixed grip. shrugs should also never be done with a supinated grip, but that makes sense. Now that we have the obvious out of the way, let's speak about something that people are very afraid of because they think they're going to tear a bicep, which is heavy curls. Are heavy curls dangerous? Can curls hurt your biceps? The answer is yes, of course. Of course it can hurt your bicep. And there are ways to prevent bicep injuries, bicep tendon tears. First off, by maintaining what is called the flex. So you never want to be in that position when you do bicep curls because you're overextending the tendon. You want to be here. So here, my bicep is engaged, the tendon is strong, but if I go here, you can see the bicep keeps stretching, and you can make the case, oh well, it's being stretched more, so it's better. Well, look, I don't know if you can see clearly, but look at the bicep. Look at the tiny movement you get from this, and now look at it. From here to here, there's almost no movement. Okay, what you see is, if you look at the bicep in itself, what you will see is minimal movement of the muscle in itself. What extends is the tendons. So you don't want that, you want to work the bicep. So that range of motion from here to here is perfectly good. That extra little inch, we don't care about that. That's the safety inch. That's the 1 inch you're going to not do, and forget about the gains you're leaving on the table. Who cares? There's nothing special about that extra portion of the bicep work. It's not going to make a difference in the way your bicep look. If you can get more reps in this range of motion and you don't compromise here, you're going to stay safer longer, you're going to put more volume on the bicep. And that can be applied to every single bicep movement. So when you do your easy bar curls, you never want to be here. You want to have the flex. So you do your reps here. Some people will tell you it's half repping. Let them say what they want to say. You're going to build big biceps. That speaks for itself. Be extremely careful when you do these movements on the preacher curl, because the preacher curl is going to change the angle that you usually see your arm in, because it's going to be here instead of here, right? So when it's here, I go here. When I'm on the preacher like this, I'm going to go here. I'm not going to give that elbow extension at the end. I really want to just keep the arm a little bit flexed and a little bit tense. Now, the heavier you go on the curls, of course, the more dangerous it becomes for the biceps. I'm going to use my example and my case. It might not apply to everyone, but I personally have been doing cheat curls for 10 years. There has not been, almost never been, a week that goes by without me curling heavy. Like, I mean heavy. I do easy bar curls with 120 pounds. I curl 80-pound dumbbells on the preacher. I do heavy curls all the time. I have never had tendonitis. I have never had any bicep injuries. I have never had a tear, ever. Because I follow the advice I just gave you. As far as Olympic rings go, if you wonder about that, same thing. If you're going to maintain a position where you are above the rings and your arms are fully extended, then in that case, it's safe because it's not pulling on the bicep, it's an isometric tension on the bicep, so that's safe. If you're below the rings and you pull, same thing, you don't want to fully extend the arm, but that's always something you need to keep in mind when doing supinated movements for the bicep. So, that I spoke about should prevent injuries in both realm of the bicep. And I'm just going to end on this. From what I've seen, movements like supinated rows or mixed grip deadlifts usually have a tendency to create a tear where the bicep connects with the forearm. And tears here usually tend to happen on certain types of rows, especially high rows like this, because this is called a lawn mower tear, because it happens when old people try to start their lawnmower, that here, that position here, puts stress on the tendon, and if it's weak, it snaps. So be careful if you do high rows and everything, that can be dangerous too, so don't do them supinated, right? Because those people they're not strong enough to do it like this, so they do it like this and they snap it. And I've also seen it happen with atlas tones, but I personally don't do atlas tones, but the type of bicep tears that happen are usually here with the atlas tones. And the last type is arm wrestling. So if you're a strongman or an arm wrestler, watch out for that guy. But if you are a bodybuilder, usually it's gonna happen here, and I gave you enough prevention measures to make sure it doesn't happen to you. So I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will help you with your problem. Have a good day.